Hello guys and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I will show you how to grade the Blackmagic RAW files in DaVinci Resolve. We will go from this to this in less than 2 minutes. If you're exclusively a Premiere Pro user, check out my other video where I do exactly the same tutorial but in Premiere Pro. Alright, so let's get started. Alright guys, so once you got your killer footage, it's finally time to grade it. Let's start the 2-minute timer and I'm gonna show you how to do it super fast, super easy, so it looks fresh. So we're gonna go to our media tab and we're gonna find the footage that we wanna use. I'm gonna use the footage that I shot for my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K review last week. It's shot in 6K RAW, so perfect for this example. And we got the footage right here. I'm gonna drop it into my project. And I'm gonna make a new timeline with all of this footage. All right, so once I made a timeline, I'm gonna go into my color workspace. And here, I'm gonna show you how to get this done super fast and super efficiently. Let's go into a more difficult shot with more backlight, something where there's the sun glaring into the lens. For example, something like this. So the quickest way to get your image looking nice and actually usable is just to go right here on your node. If you don't see your nodes, they might be hiding under these settings over here. So just hit nodes, you will start seeing the nodes. Once you see the node, right click on it, go to LUTs, go to 3D LUT, scroll down and choose your Blackmagic design camera. Also, there are now new cameras using the Blackmagic RAW. I shot this on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. So I go and find my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K and it was shot using film color space, the film log look. So I just go and choose 6K film to extended video. Make sure it's extended video and not the standard video because you get much more and nicer dynamic range with the extended video. And bam, here we have a Rec 709 image. And this is actually already looking pretty nice. Maybe we're lacking a little bit of contrast, but we can just create a new node by hitting Alt-S. So in this second node, you can make some color correction and make your image pop slightly more. With this image, one thing that I noticed straight away is that my shadows are really lifted. So I just want to bring down my blacks so I have a richer, more contrasty image. To do that, I'm going to go into lift. Lift, in other words, is shadows. So you can introduce color cast into your shadows or you can control the exposure of your shadow. So I'm bringing down the lift and that's bringing down my shadows, my black point, let's say. And you can see it on the scopes. Everything is moving down. And here now I have a more contrasty, more punchy image. I'm going to lift the midtones a little bit. Gamma is, in other words, midtones in the simplest term. So I lift my midtones a little bit so Juanita's face is a little bit more exposed. And I can bring my shadows slightly more down. And now I'm seeing a little bit of a green tint. So there are two ways to do this. I could either offset that by messing with the wheels, for example, in the highlights, midtones, or shadows, or I can use the offset wheel, which changes the entire image, or I can go back to my RAW settings, choose clip, again select highlight recovery, and I can change my color temperature, my tint, and my exposure right here in the RAW settings. So I'm gonna introduce a little bit more magenta, and I'm gonna make it slightly warmer because it was a nice sunset, so let's give it a little bit warmer colors. All right, and there you have it.
Final round.
Here's a pretty tricky shot because there's a lot of backlight. So once again, I'm gonna go into my RAW settings. I'm gonna choose clip. I'm gonna click highlight recovery, and I'm gonna first of all bring down the exposure a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna right click on my node. I'm gonna go to LUTs, 3D LUT, Blackmagic design. I shot it on the 6K, so I choose 6K film to extend the video. And bam, as you can see, it's a little bit overexposed, so we're gonna bring down the exposure. And let's see how it looks slightly later when the sun comes out. See, and this is where it's kind of the best time to start using your highlight roll-off settings, because as you can see, the sun has this harsh circle around it and it's not very blended, and this is something that I think kind of makes your footage look cheaper because this is more common on cheap cameras like DSLRs, and the more expensive cameras with higher dynamic range with better sensors tend to not have such harsh highlight roll-off. However, the great thing about shooting in RAW, in Blackmagic RAW, is that you can actually go and change these settings. And one way to deal with that is to go to your RAW settings and bring down the white point. So I bring down my white point, and that brings down my highlights right here, so they're no longer clipping. Also at this stage you can really see what the highlight recovery tick does over here. So once I brought down my highlights by using white level, I can then toggle on and off the highlight recovery tick, and you really see what happens on the scopes right there. So look at that. If I don't have highlight recovery, you can see that I'm losing a lot of information in the highlights, and if I click highlight recovery, it brings back some of the information in the highlights that's still there. We're getting a lot more color and a lot more roll-off right here in the highlights. And now that I brought my white level slightly down, I can play with the highlight roll-off and blend that circle a little bit softer into the image. So if I drag my slider to the right, it blends in like it's more feathered, and if I slide it to the left, the sun becomes even harsher. So I think this feature right here is super powerful into making your images look much more expensive, more high-end. This is something that I think a lot of people overlook. One of the reasons why you might have not noticed the power of the highlight roll-off slider is because you haven't adjusted the white level. Usually if you don't adjust the white level, the highlight roll-off slider doesn't do much. But as soon as you bring down that white level, then the highlight roll-off slider is making a huge difference on your image. So really powerful tool. Make sure you tweak that in, especially on backlit, sunset, golden hour images. It can make a huge difference, and it can really elevate the quality of your video. I think that's kind of the key thing of achieving a high-end look. Thousands of people are asking online how to get that cinematic look out of the camera. And I think one of the key things in achieving the cinematic look is not clipping your highlights. And this method right here works really, really good with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras and with the Blackmagic RAW. That brings you so much closer to the high-end cinema cameras. One thing you will never see in a big budget film is bad highlight roll-off. And I think if you sort it out in DaVinci Resolve, you will really see an improvement in the quality of your overall images. This makes a huge difference at sunset, at golden hour, if you're shooting backlit subjects. It can make your footage look a lot more expensive, a lot more high-end, a lot more professional. Alright guys, thanks for watching the tutorial. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment if you want to learn anything else, and I will see you next time. Peace!